Have you ever felt like your communication was not moving your desired end result forward? Or maybe you felt like you fit in the stereotype of better off seen, not heard. How do you increase your communication skills to an executive level, which gets high performing results, along with getting ahead of the god awful comparison insecurity we all fall victim to at some point when seeking more in life and much more right after these messages?
It's this natural development, right? Like you actually have to earn the respect as being a leader. And that's still true in the military to some extent, but you have positional authority and you've got US code
Yeah.
backing you up, right?
Yeah.
Not so much on the outside.
Today's show is brought to you by Combat Flip Flops. Are you ready to support something bigger than yourself right now? Well, look no further than Combat Flip Flops. They're creating peaceful, forward-thinking opportunities for self-determined entrepreneurs affected by conflict. Their willingness to take bold risks, build community connections, and create distinct military-inspired designs communicates their business, not bullets approach, flipping the view on how wars are won. They bring everyone's economy up through Afghanistan, Colombia, Laos, and supporting the troops, led by two Army combat vets who won over 3 sharks, including Mark Cuban on Shark Tank, with their apparel, footwear, and accessories that are creating jobs, funding women's education, and creating change in some of the toughest places on the planet. Check out their gear at combatflipflops.com. If you find something you like, or maybe you just want to gift your father for Father's Day, make sure to enter code AMV Network for 25% off. Welcome to the Ambitious Vet Podcast, where we believe that if you desire more than you have in any area of life, you have to become more in the process. My name is Chris Hoffman, Marine Corps combat veteran turned social entrepreneur, family man, personal professional development leader. On this show, I dive into the trenches with big thinking and conscious veterans who know what it takes not only to pay the bills after the military, but really live with a sense of purpose, satisfaction, and career fulfillment we all desire most after financial stability is no longer a challenge to overcome. If you haven't already, grab your pen and paper. It's time to gain the golden grenades needed to break through your fear barriers and live a life of purpose with passion.
It's time to get into the trenches, dig into your purpose, and fire up your life's fulfillment. The Ambitious Vet Podcast starts now.
What's going on, Ambitious Vets? We're right back into the trenches, bring you another industry leader, thought leader that's going to bring the golden grenades to help you take your career, life, and business to the next level. Who do we got today? We got Aaron Spatz. Aaron is the founder and CEO of Bold Media, a digital marketing agency that represents brands worldwide. From marketing that gets attention to websites, social media, and other creative, Aaron loves to drive ridiculously great outcomes for companies. He's a U.S. Marine commissioned veteran and active in the military veterans community. He's also the host and producer of the Veteran Business Podcast, a podcast centered around the stories of U.S. military veterans and their adventures in the business world following their time in service. He also is a man of faith, devoted to his wife and 3 kids, and he's also a passionate ambassador for Christ everywhere, which I definitely value myself and love that about this man. When he's not busy with his family and volunteering at church, Aaron loves to train for triathlons, read and explore technology. I think he's actually preparing for an Ironman right now, but I'll let him talk more about that. Aaron, brother, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris, thanks so much, man. It's a pleasure.
Oh, man, absolute honor, man. So are you really training for an Ironman right now?
Yeah, so I took a few years off from the sport last. I have not done a full Ironman yet. That actually, that's not even official. This is the first time it's gone public, but I will be running Ironman Chattanooga 2021.
Come on.
I'm training for Ironman 70.3 Waco for this fall. I'll probably also run Ironman 70.3 Galveston in the spring of next year as I start to crank up training for Chattanooga. And probably need to check with a psychiatrist, right?
Man, you are a busy man.
Yeah.
And it's probably a pretty good stress reliever during these times too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you get out, put 30 miles in on the bike. It's a good way to kind of expend yourself and get a clear head and, get some of those, get that endorphin high going, so.
Yeah, I can only imagine, man. It's good to have that outlet. I think for myself, just doing sprints 3 times a week just does the world for my psychology and keeping me moving in the right direction and not getting bought into everything that's going on. So, man, I admire it, man. You got a lot going on. But, man, I want to, without further ado, just dive right into your expertise, brother. So, you're a natural brand builder, right? One of the things I was doing research on you up into this interview is like you're a great storyteller, you're a natural brand builder. And I want to kind of dive into your story, man, around your transition as a Marine back in 2012, right? And I want to dive into, more importantly, some of the challenges you faced in building your personal brand. Okay. And I just think a lot of ambitious vets, maybe the one that's listening right now, may get a lot out of that. So, man, what were some challenges you dealt with developing your brand out of the Marine Corps?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. The transition out of the military, regardless of your branch of service, your experience, or however long you served, is an emotional process. There's the logistics side to it, obviously. There's a lot of decisions you got to make very rapidly, and I don't think we're fully prepared to make the decision. And I don't really think that's a problem, honestly, with DOD. I think it's just we're so focused on doing our job, right, that you don't really think about looking up and eyeballing a way out the door. And that's, so then when it does happen, you're like, crap, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So my transition was pretty rapid. I mean, I came back home off deployment. I had probably 5 months, 6 months until my EAS, had some terminal leave, all that usual stuff, right? Punched out. I used one of the big 3 or 4 junior military officer placement firms that everybody knows. Got a job in the Houston, Texas area, and really just tried to commit myself to just learning and just really trying to adapt into civilian culture. And so brand building and the whole personal brand thing, I mean, that didn't really start to register with me, to be completely honest, several years after that. It probably wasn't until 2015 when I started to understand, for myself, how important a personal brand is. And in all honesty, I didn't really start aggressively building it for probably another year after that. And so there's a lot of things that there's a lot of self-imposed hindrances, right? Of fear of what people are going to think of me.
Totally.
Do I have something people want to hear? Right. That journey of just trying to understand the whole brand process. I mean, you've got to get out there. You've got to get yourself dirty. You've got to get out. You've got to get some experience. You just got to keep grinding it out.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that because, I know an ambitious vet that may be listening to this right now, maybe saying, hey, I'm in the trenches. I'm grinding it out. But I'm just feeling stuck and I don't like to talk about myself. Right. What would you say to that ambitious vet that's in that stage where, they're out there, they got financial stability, but they're just like, man, how do I elevate? I want to grow in my career, or maybe I want to start my own business. I mean, how do we start positioning ourselves as a personal brand and communicate that?
Love it. No, that starts at understanding where you want to end up. And I know it sounds like it's like the obvious, like no kidding type of answer, but but no, understand, okay, am I wanting to be a thought leader in my industry? Do I want to be seen as like the dude or the lady that understands everything related to this topic? Do I want to be an entrepreneur? Is there a business idea that's kind of rattling around and I want to explore that possibility? Man, it's once you understand where it is that you want to go, then you really do. Then you got to kind of have a plan of how you want to get there and to not overthink it. So it's like we tend to overthink it. I mean, I've overthought the heck out of it myself.
Oh, me too, man.
Yeah. And so when it comes to that, it's like thinking about where your audience resides, but the bigger thing with personal brand is it follows you. It follows you wherever you go. So like, you're not just building a brand for like a company. If you're an employee at a company, or you're the entrepreneur, you're the founder of that company, like, you're building your own following. And so it's building a community. It's focused on like, how do I foster and cultivate relationships around like similar interests. And so being thoughtful about that, of like, so if I want to be known as the expert related to architecture, then, you know, I'm going to position myself in a way where I'm talking about architecture, but I'm also talking about just talking about like other hobbies, other things that you like to do in your off time. That's the secret, like that's the superpower,
right?
For people, is like, if you don't have, and the other thing is like, if you don't have the experience, or you don't have the bullets on the resume to prove that, hey, I led a company from 0 to $50 million in 3 years, then okay, that's okay.
Yeah.
Make it about the journey. Make it about the journey of the entrepreneur. Make it about the journey of being a thought leader, and just be radically transparent. Be like, hey, I'm on this journey to to grow a business, or I'm on this journey to establish myself as a thought leader. I'm thinking about getting my PhD, and I'm going to take you with me on that journey. And that those are just a couple of like really easy things. I mean, I say they're easy. The idea of it is easy, just executing it, being consistent, and wide distribution is obviously a little bit more of a challenge, but it's very doable.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, what I picked up on that, and Ambitious Vet, hopefully you're taking mental notes, or you're sitting down and taking notes right now. What I'm hearing so far is like, one, don't overthink it. I think a lot of us veterans that are getting out are natural risk mitigators. So we're constantly looking at, what could go wrong with this, right? And overthink that. And then, overthinking the risk and worrying about a future that is not here now could potentially stop us in our tracks. But I also got that, you've got to figure out what the end goal is, which I hear goal setting in that, right? What is the desired end result? And then how do we actually find similar interest groups to start networking in to figure out what they are talking about? What are the key trend topics that people are learning about? What are the experiences, credentials that they have? What are they doing to be considered, a heavy hitter in that area? So I would ask you, I'll throw this right back to you. Sure. Now you're building a marketing agency and stuff like that. How have you started positioning yourself as an expert inside that industry?
Well, it does help if you have a little bit of credibility and a little bit of experience. So if you don't have the credibility or experience, don't let that hold you back. So that just means you're just gonna have to eat it and either give it away for free or heavily discounted just to get some reps. I promise you, there's a family friend out there that owns a business that would be willing to take a chance on you, trying something out. And it could be anything. Like if you're an artist, or you want to get into the field of, like it could be doing the financials for a company, right? And you really want to get that experience, and you want to be able to talk more about it. You're considering getting your MBA with finance emphasis, or a master's in finance, or whatever. Yeah. And you need to get the experience. Well, like go get some experience. But yeah, for the marketing side of things specifically, you've got to overcome fear. I think the biggest thing for any entrepreneur, and again, I do not pretend to be the guy that is running a $500 million company. I've got some people that help me deliver amazing results to my clients. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about it. But you can't let the fear cripple you. You can't worry about what other people think, And so like the first time that, I remember I think it was a few weeks ago, I might've been shooting a video recapping some of my triathlon training. And I felt like such an idiot because I'm walking down the road and I'm like filming myself in selfie mode. And there's like this couple walking along the other side of the road. Or even better yet, I was standing still because I'm trying to be thoughtful of my background and surroundings when I'm filming. and I'm standing still in the middle of the shoot, and this couple comes up from behind me and like interrupts me, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, excuse me." And trying to overcome, like, you've got to overcome the whole, what do people think about me? Does what I say matter? And you just got to own it. Don't fake it. Like, I don't like,
Yeah.
don't fake it till you make it. That's so much. It's so hard. It's so much
Yeah.
effort. Like, just be honest about where you are in the journey. Don't degrade yourself. Like, like, I know it's kind of like a double edge, right? It's like be real, but also like, don't kick yourself into the gutter. Like, realize that you're a smart person. Like, you're bright, you're brilliant, you're going to figure it out, but just don't pretend to be somebody that you're not. Like, don't front. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's finding that balance, because I think that's what I have found, Aaron. I don't know, man, you could add to this, but it's an ongoing process. You really never master, getting over the comparison theory, right? Of like, oh man, that person looks like they're winning because they just took a picture in front of an ocean or whatever, whatever that may be, or just like comparing yourself to, other people's results, or my always thing is this like self-doubt too, man. Just always waking up with that sense of just like, man, have I really done the work to earn what I'm going after? Or should I go back to school, or should I go do that? Whatever, right? I gotta go get put back into the oven a little bit more, cooked up a little bit more before I go do this. So, I mean, what are some ways, man, tactically that because you've mentioned this multiple times now, but what are some practical ways, habits, routines, whatever you want to say, that you've been able to get ahead of the comparison thing, man? Because I think a lot of ambitious vets, man, they're out there in the trenches in the civilian workforce. They're outperforming their peers. And maybe they're entrepreneurs and they're just out there executing, maybe exhausted. How do we get ahead of the comparison theory, brother?
Love the question, Chris. I appreciate you going deep on some of these topics. No, these are some of the questions that people avoid and don't do justice, because it's a mind game. I mean, it is more mental than anything else that I've experienced. I mean, I have never worked so hard in my life, yet been so fulfilled and genuinely happy about my circumstance. And it's the most insane thing. The comparison game, you've got to turn it off. And I have fallen into that trap occasionally. I'll see what someone else is doing, and it may be a legit success. It may not be legit success. It doesn't really matter. So you've either got to like turn it off, like unfollow the person, for crying out loud. Like, if it's really gonna jack you up mentally. I have done that. No kidding. Like, I have legit unfollowed people. It had nothing to do with the person. It was my problem. Like, I own the fact that, okay, I have some massive insecurity here that I need to put in check. And for whatever reason, I'm having a hard time processing, like, seeing this person or this couple or this whatever doing really well. And that's my problem, not theirs. Like we should be applauding their success and saying great job. But it goes back. There's an insecurity. Bottom line, it's an insecurity. It touches that self-doubt button that you mentioned a few minutes ago of, okay, like, you're going to, and I'm talking more to the entrepreneurs. I don't know how well this, I'm sure it parallels in the professional world as well, but when you're so busy comparing, like, why? I mean, I know it's natural to do that, because you want to feel like you're quote unquote successful. But first of all, you've got to define what success is to you. Right. So if success to you looks like being an employee or being a COO and making, $100K, and you've got medical and dental, and you've got, 3.5 weeks of vacation a year, and you've got all the time in the world for your family and your kids and all that. Like, if that is success to you, then go for that, and who cares? Like, really, like, who cares? You just need to define what success means. But if you're on the entrepreneurial journey, and there's a little bit of competition. A lot of us are a little bit more of the type D, a little bit more aggressive, maybe a little bit more competitive. That's okay. It may sound cheesy, but it's like, you just got to understand where is your heart in that process. Like, am I doing this to improve myself, or am I doing it like to tear somebody else down or to prove something to somebody? Because I'll tell you, you're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to be fulfilled at the end of the day. You're going to feel like crap. I mean, that's probably why I enjoy the sport of triathlon, because I'm competing against myself. It's a battle to beat my own times or to see if I can push myself harder to do better. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. There's a whole bunch of wisdom in there, man. And, one thing I just wrote down and circled is what I think a lot of, ambitious vets do. They're getting out desiring a hell of a lot more than their human capital will deliver in the moment, is that they get out and they feel like they got to prove themselves to the civilian world.
Yeah.
Right. And they get into this whole like, well, how do I belong? How do I make these decisions? How do I advance? How do I do all this but still fit in? So, ambitious vet, if you're listening to this and you're one of those, just like myself and maybe Aaron, that we fall victim to every now and again, don't be out there proving yourself. Know that you've already earned the title of whatever branch that you served in, and know that you naturally hold soft skills, human capital, that you will learn how to leverage as you go. Get out there, get in the trenches, and keep pushing forward. So, ambitious vet, we're going to take a brief break, but right when we get back with Aaron, we're going to dive in and debunk a complete veteran stereotype that I'm excited to hear Aaron's thoughts. We'll be right back. If you're anything like me, you're probably looking for new creative ways to break your body down while building your mental strength during these times of challenge and naturally bring up the fear of uncertainty or the unknown. Well, I got a solution for you. Brute Force Sandbags focuses on the gear, the training, and the lifestyle you need to train accordingly. Best thing about it is 100% American-made training products built from the toughest material, raw material on the planet. It's free shipping domestically, has a warranty on it, and a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you're ready to get creative with your workouts, wherever you're at across the world, check out Brute Force Sandbags by clicking the show notes below. Welcome back, ambitious vet. We're in the trenches with Aaron Spatz, and I'm excited to dive into this next topic. From our previous pre-interview conversation, I'm excited to hear his thoughts on this subject and see where the conversation goes. That's what we always do on this show anyway. So, Aaron, man, there's a veteran stereotype out there, and I'm excited to debunk that if you're down, brother.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's rock. So, all right. So there's a research study that was done by Duke University back in 2019. I think it was in October. And pretty much, man, they experimented with over 3,000 of the top employers within the United States. And pretty much and they published it within this organizational behavior and human decision process journal that has been now sourced by thousands of veteran advocated media across, the world, I believe. And here's the thing, is inside of that research study, they found that veteran job candidates are widely seen as possessing a calm under pressure and having a get-it-done kind of an attitude. However, they're better off seen, not heard, and lacking the interpersonal skills and emotional intelligence that it takes to advance in their careers, which to me is, kind of like one of those things like, whoa, hold on. So my question to you is how do we not bulldoze while communicating with other peers and bosses inside of our roles and build the executive-like leadership we all know that we carry from the uniform and bring it to the marketplace and really just advance our lives and everyone else's lives around us? How do we do that?
It starts with understanding that you don't know that business. They didn't hire you because because you're a technical expert on whatever. It could be pharmaceuticals, it could be a manufacturing, it could be maintenance, whatever. I mean, it literally could be anything. They didn't hire you to be the technical expert, and so you have a lot of learning to do. We come from an environment where we've got SOPs, we got Marine Corps orders, we've got SOPs for the SOPs. We've got all sorts of crazy planning guidance. We've got systems in place. There is so much that we come out with. And I mean, really, it's all, regardless of what your job is, we're also like service oriented. So there's like this, there's always a mission, whether you're Air Force or U.S. Marines, whatever the case may be. there's a mission, whatever, fly from here to there, go take the hill, go, deliver beans to, refugees. There's a mission. And so like, you've got to think through, like, when you get brought into the fold of a company, it's not the military, and you can't reinvent military culture, military standards inside of that company. So you have to assimilate. It doesn't mean that you give up on, you compromise your own personal value system, your own belief structure, your own way of working hard, so long as you're not imposing your will on others. So when you're in, I mean, unless you got out, after you got like reduction in rank, there's a pretty good chance that you were responsible for at least one other person at some point. And so you had that authority, and it was just given to you. And so really understand that when you're coming into these environments, like your opinion matters, but not at first. And so they value your service. They love what you've done for the country, but it really is important to just understand the culture, understand like what makes the company tick, and learn, just be a sponge, and it might take you a couple of jobs to do that.
Right.
By the way, it may be even harder if you're going into like a defense contractor. Some of those are like military light. I mean, everybody is former rank so-and-so. I mean, really, it's pretty crazy, some of these environments. And so but being able to adapt to that environment, that may be your environment. So that's okay. But I mean, and please get me back on track, Chris, if I'm veering off the road here. But when it comes to bulldozing people, that is the stereotype. Whether or not we like it, especially if you're a Marine, I'm sure, Army probably has a little bit of the stigma also. Air Force and Navy probably get off a little bit easier on this one, but for the ground-based forces, specifically in the military, like we're viewed as drill instructors. Like we're viewed as like the guys that are going to come in, yell and scream. We're going to flip tables, knife hand everybody, and like just go bananas, right? And for the employers that don't have that figured out, like it really is on us to go in and help them understand. Like, no, we are an amazing wealth of talent that just needs to be directed. And so just understanding what is your lane, and execute well in your lane, but play nice with others. Like play well with others. I couldn't emphasize that enough. Like don't ostracize your coworkers, because what you're actually doing is you're actually isolating yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be a team player. And the smartest people, the most intelligent people are the ones that figure out, hey, it's actually in my best interest to play nice with others and to cooperate, collaborate as a team. And you may be working for somebody younger than you and trying to understand that process.
Yeah. So I love it. There's the big picture view, right? And I love it. I love how you're setting it up. Now let's dive more tactically, right? So like, how do we have the difficult conversations, right? Like when we, for example, man, when my first job out of the Marine Corps was 24-hour fitness, right? Great career. Was good for 12 months, and then I moved on. But man, when I was in there, it was hard to have difficult conversations. I didn't know how to like listen before I talked, right? Yeah. Because it's in the Marine Corps, I was that corporal, right? So I was the corporal that was just like, no, you don't give me, feedback on my communication. I'm telling you and commanding you, this is how it goes. And then when I got into the first job, people were just like, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm like, all right, quarter deck. Never know. I'm just kidding. But it was something along the lines of like, hold on, then I'm going to go do it myself and outperform you. And then I was a cultural misfit because everyone felt like they weren't doing enough and they didn't know how to communicate to me. So yada, yada, yada. So, brother, how do we have those difficult conversations that can have us, saying we want, but not like just bulldozing our counterparts inside of these corporations, man, because I know that you climbed up a couple corporate ladders and had some really good success in the corporate world. So how do we do that?
Yeah, I mean, to start a little bit more brainiac, it really is self-awareness,
Yeah.
understanding what you feel, why you feel it, what, understanding those emotions. Why am I having that emotional response? So like
Yeah.
when I told Jerry to go sweep the floor and he looked at me like I was an idiot
Yeah.
and said no or whatever, maybe he didn't have the attitude I wanted him to have, and went and did what I wanted him to do. Instead of losing your mind, okay, like okay, we've got a couple of problems here. Either A, like I am like maybe I just was speaking French there for a minute and he just didn't understand me,
Yeah.
or he has a serious attitude problem, or maybe I need to adjust the way that I'm talking to people, and maybe I am like intimidating, and so it's not to give people a free pass, right? Like I mean, people still need to do their jobs, so it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, it is what it is. But when we're trying to have difficult conversations with people, it really does start with compassion.
Yeah.
Uh, Having and really, if you can, if you've had a similar emotional and experience as that person, and if you can connect with them on a deeper level, the empathetic response is invaluable.
Right.
And so, and I think that's the big difference, right? Is when we're in the corporate world, we tend to kind of form our own little tribe of people, not within the construct of the UCMJ. It's like this, it's this natural development, right? Like you actually have to earn the respect as being a leader, and that's still true in the military to some extent. But you have positional authority, and you've got U.S. code
Yeah.
backing you up, right?
Yeah.
Not so much on the outside. So if you're a bear of a boss to work with, and you're rude and you're cutting and you're demeaning people, well, you're going to lose your best people
Yeah.
really quick, because they don't need they have a free will and a choice. They don't have orders to your company for 3 years or 5 years or whatever. Like they could quit right then and there and leave. And so
Yeah.
so I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but having difficult conversations with people, I mean, it's all this, it's like it's a lot like the anger management stuff is like, take a deep breath,
Yeah.
and compose yourself, and but be humane, like actually connect with them on a personal level. Like,
Right.
hey, John, I've noticed that you're like, you've been behind on like the reporting for this project. Like, is everything okay? Like, you doing all right? And when he feels like when you like legit have his best interest at heart, and like,
Yeah.
you know what, my wife and I have been arguing for the last 2 days nonstop. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, that's all I've been thinking about. If you've got the bandwidth as a leader, like you tell that dude to go home and like go get things right with his wife, or maybe you put on the hat of a marriage counselor there for a few minutes, and you're like helping him process that. So like that's where that relationship equity gets built. So when you do have to have a tough conversation with somebody, and like it depends on the level of formality with that person, but like dude, you're slacking right now. Like you need to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
And he'll understand, and he's more receiving to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. It's based on the background of relatedness, the relationship, and all that good stuff. One great concept that came up in my mind, and I wrote it down right whenever you were bringing up what you were saying, is like, I think one-on-one conversations, just to get more with tactical with it, is this like, if you feel like you're not being able to relate to somebody, find a way to, in my case, whatever environment you're in, 24-hour fitness, go have a workout with them, have a one-on-one conversation, or request a one-on-one meeting, or go out and have a happy hour conversation with them,
Right.
connect with them. And one thing that I used to do, man, I don't know, and you can share your best practices as well. Back whenever I was a sales trainer for a couple organizations, I used a concept called I grow. And ambitious fit, what that is it's issue, right? Understanding the underlying issue. 2 is the goal. Like, what is the goal out of whatever conflict is going on? 3 was, what is the reality of the situation, right? Because that will give you clarity. Next is, what are our options, right? When you were in the military, right? What were your options, right? What strategies, what resources do you have at your disposal? Because you're never stuck. And the last one would be, what are you committed to doing? What will you do? I grow. Brother, when you were leading, and you're leading a team right now at your agencies, what would be some best practices that has you connect with people, but not feeling like they're just being dominated? And then we'll move to the next subject.
I think it's, I think before you get there, you got to have clear expectations.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's true of even my relationships with my clients. Right. So even with client facing or, internal task org type things, it's like we have to have clear expectations of what is the deliverable, what is the role, like what actually has to happen, and to not just copy and paste it from somebody else. Like, actually put the work in to understand what does the job entail, and do you understand it? Like, is there like too much industry jargon in this thing that you really don't understand what you're reading, and having like a really good conversation about it. Then when you go up and you're addressing some of these issues, I mean, I always try to lead with understanding that people, like, and this could be a weakness of mine, I have no idea, but I assume, I try to assume the best in people at all times until they give me a reason not to. And so if someone's not getting something done, then I got some real life examples of this. But if I've got a project that I've tasked somebody with or I've paid them to do and they haven't done it for me yet, I'm probably going to assume a couple of things. Like, and you have to train yourself this way. Like, we automatically assume the worst almost every time. Yeah. So I have to be like, okay, he or she is probably, overwhelmed, or they're probably having struggle. So I'm not trying to make excuses for them, but I'm trying to think about like what they're going through. Then when I have that in like kind of percolating, then when I go to talk with them about it, I'm not approaching them as if I'm about to punch them in the face. Like, they feel like it's more like, okay, yeah, the expectation was clear, so I should be expecting to get questioned about this. Like, I mean, it's like disciplining a kid, right? Like they know what the rules are, and I don't mean this in any like degrading way. It's just another silly example of like when you have a standard set and the standard isn't met, it is your responsibility to correct it if the person hasn't corrected it themselves. And so you'd be surprised, people really appreciate when you actually hold them accountable. They're like, oh, like, it's almost like, thank God, right? It's like, thank God you noticed, because maybe it opens the door for a wider conversation. Maybe you have too much on their plate. Maybe it uncovers like a systemic problem with the organization. And you're like, oh my gosh, like I didn't know, like I thought the process for you getting this done was X, Y, and Z. I didn't know it was A through Z. Holy crap. Like, we need to work on this. So, wow. Okay. This puts it all in perspective now. Wow. Oh, and you were smart enough to understand that you needed to prioritize these issues first. That's why the more minor things have been getting dropped lately. Got it. Okay, so now I got something to work with. So,
yeah, no, that's brilliant, brother. I mean, what I hear in that is ambitious that if you get out there in the trenches, if you're an entrepreneur or if you're a corporate leader looking to, develop more quality executive leadership, what you need to be doing is inspecting versus assuming. Inquire, like, what could this person be dealing with? Where is their position inside of this conversation? And I think communicating from there, or at least stepping back, getting the perspective, like Aaron said, and maybe even just writing it out, brain dumping. What could this person be thinking in this situation? What's their position? And then asking them and inquiring, being more curious versus just like, hey, why isn't this done? Bah, 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 as us military guys and gals could always fall victim to. I think that will help, things move quicker and allow teamwork. And so, research studies like this one don't go out to give us a bad stereotype. So let's continue to stay ahead of this, ambitious vet. So Aaron, man, tell us more about Bold Media and how we need to be thinking ahead as ambitious vets around this COVID-19 stuff, man, because I'm only assuming here, right? But I want to inspect, how is marketing changing during these times, and how do we recover from this COVID-19 crisis?
Yeah, marketing is, I mean, as a lot of folks listening to this will understand, obviously, it's an ever evolving process. You're constantly iterating, constantly testing new ideas, isolating variables, doubling down on successes, throwing away the garbage. But as it relates to COVID-19, really from a business level, you're seeing people just get more creative. You know, how many restaurants 90 days ago were not offering curbside delivery or curbside pickup and home delivery? A lot of those are offering it now. And there's a lot of similar creative ways that people are solving problems now. And so for the companies that are out there that are just treading water, waiting for us to go back to normal, you're going to lose, or you're going to be very far behind, because if you can identify that we are in a very unique situation, there's an opportunity. Even in the middle of a crisis, there's an opportunity to get better, to evolve, to iterate, to think outside the box and understand, how can I deliver value to my customers? How can I further reinforce, my importance to them, but really more importantly, the results for them. I mean, that's how brands are built. Brands are built by product and service satisfaction, and the way it's and executed with excellence. And it has to be a consistent thing. It's just like anything else, right? It's kind of like trust. It takes forever to build it. It takes a moment to break it. And if you've got the equity built up in your brand or just in your personal, I mean, you can replace the word brand with reputation. So people can get hung up on the whole personal brand concept. If you get hung up on it, just think of reputation. Like, what do you want to be known as? What do you want your company to be known as? What reputation do you want to have in the marketplace or just in general? And so, but no, I think coming out of COVID-19, I think it's just very important that you double down on what's working. Like if you're not leveraging social media, you need to be leveraging social media. I mean, at no point in history have we ever had direct to consumer access, like pocket to pocket. You could literally be DMing a CEO from wherever you are in the world. You could be tweeting directly with somebody at some level from anywhere. And so there's a lot of different ways to think about it, and how can we leverage technology? How can we leverage social media? And so these are some of the problems that Bold Media solves, right? So, I mean, if you've got tools in your tool chest, like there's been seasons where I've changed my own oil and done my own work on my car. There's other times when I go and I have somebody else do it for me. And yeah, I may be able to do it myself to some level of competence. But the mechanic's going to see a lot of other things that I don't see or don't think to check. He's going to do it a lot more efficiently. He's got the experience. He's got other vehicles that he's worked on that, he can kind of draw some parallels, and maybe he learns something working on another model of vehicle similar to yours that he then incorporates into your vehicle. And so it's kind of how the marketing agency world works, right? So if I make some gold nugget discovery working on a totally unrelated project, that may have a ripple effect across all my clients in a very positive way. And so no, that's just, I mean, without making this a long drawn out commercial, Chris, I mean, this is really what we do is, marketing strategy, but then the tactical social media content, logos, websites, website hosting and maintenance. I mean, the whole 9 yards. I mean, everything related to the digital front of your company. So.
Yeah, because Ambitious Vet, take it from someone that's been dealing with this whole COVID-19 hacker stuff recently. Website maintenance is key. And sometimes we don't always put money into the maintenance of things, and you may have to pay more money later down the road. And just know that, without a website, social media has to go, the traffic has to go somewhere, right? So it sounds like you guys are a one-stop shop, man. You develop a website to capture the traffic from social media, and you keep the maintenance so the website stays up and running so competitors can't shut your stuff down or whatever. There's a lot of hackers sitting behind their computers nowadays too.
Right.
So just making sure you were getting ahead of stuff and making sure that we are hitting our end user in an effective way. Because I got to tell you, man, over here with me, marketing copy on social media to drive engagement can be so exhausting when all I want to do is focus on strategy,
Yep.
vision, keep spearheading, being the show
Right.
pony, right? And yeah, man, I mean, the learning curve, right? Ambitious Vet, I want you to be thinking about the learning curve of having to go and learn marketing on social media, right? Because every single one of the platforms, LinkedIn, social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, all these platforms have their different language that are effective in each and every one of them. And just know that it's a learning curve on all of them. So I would just challenge you to reach out to, Aaron and his team at Bold Media to help not even have to worry about the learning curve, so you can focus on what you're best at, right? That's where you make the money, is your vision and staying focused on keeping that being realized. So
and just to jump back in here, Chris, I have no problem with people, trying to do it themselves. Like go do it yourself. Like you may have the bandwidth to do it. You may have a lot of learning ahead of you. But there's nothing wrong with that. Like it's just understanding, like what are your strengths? What are you best at? If you are a natural salesperson and you're really good at marketing and you've got an amazing following on social media, then, and you don't want to let go of it, then you're going to have to hire somebody else to do some of the other things that you need to do for your business. And so it really is just like whatever it is that you want to do. And so for our clients, I mean, a lot of folks that we work with, they recognize like, hey, I don't want to be good at social media. I don't want to have to keep up with all the trends. I got it. And I understand that there's a lot of work, and I've shown people all the effort and work that goes into it. That's why it is, people think it's, stupid, cheap solution. It's like, you really do get what you pay for. And we'll just let the results speak for themselves. So anyway.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it, brother. So Ambitious Vets, we're going to go ahead and take our last break of the show. And right after this, we're going to dive into Aaron's 3 golden grenades and sum this all up so you can take immediate action right after. We'll be right back. Big thanks to Emerson Knives, 100% tough, 100% American. Emerson knives are used by some of the top elite special forces military in the world, and also envied by some of the top law enforcement throughout the world. Crazy thing about it is Ernest Emerson started making custom knives in the garage in 1979. Like anything great has been built, we started this whole thing in a garage office. As an instructor in hand-to-hand combat and edge weapon skills, Mr. Emerson has taught the most elite warriors on earth, from the U.S. Navy SEALs to the guards of Parliament in London and everywhere in between. If you're ready for a knife that gets the job done, no matter what that job is, choose Emerson Knives by clicking the show notes below. All right, Ambitious Vet, we're right back into the trenches with Aaron Spatz. I'm excited. We got a tradition here. We're always diving into the last bit of the show, just having you spit out the last bit of golden grenades that you may have inside of you, man. You could, sum it all up, or you could think of 3 new golden grenades that could help empower an ambitious vet out there that's been out of service for at least 3 years, has financial stability, but is just lacking fulfillment, satisfaction, or maybe it's just a sense of purpose. Aaron, what would be 3 golden grenades that you would offer that ambitious vet right now?
And I doubt that this is like the first time you've heard these, so I'm curious, and I'll give it my level best. All right, so for me, I think number one, and again, these all might sound stereotypical responses, right? But I actually believe in these answers. So, mentors.
Yeah.
Finding somebody. One, like, the hard thing with a mentor, right, is like you've got to be emotionally invested both ways, right? They've got to be invested in you. You got to trust them. You got to like each other.
Yeah.
You can pay to have a coach, right? There's thousands of people out there that do that kind of stuff. And if you want to do that, great. And that there's nothing wrong with that. I may end up doing that at some point. But the guy that I've got mentoring me, he has no ulterior motive. He's in it for me. And it's really refreshing. Like when you've got somebody there that's like they really are legitimately pulling for you. Like they really are in your corner and they really want to see you succeed. And it will only be as successful as honest as you are. So if you just sit there and say, oh, things have been going great, blah, 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 you keep it very surface level, then you're not going to get anything out of it. It's a waste of time. Like you need to share with them some of the things you're struggling with, some of the bigger challenges that you've been facing lately. And so I think I can't overstate enough the power of a mentor, and also to mentor others. If you have the industry experience, kind of like the resume to back it up, then be willing to take on somebody you as the mentor. If that happens to be your station in life, you may be in a spot to give back and to mentor. So I would not overlook that. This next one, I would say goal setting. And so you probably already kind of detected that in me, just in a lot of things that we're talking about today. But every year, and this is something I started a year ago, and it's been going pretty well. But setting some banner goals for the year, and then breaking it down into bits. So I have, like, as cheesy as it sounds, though, I've got like quarterly goals, I've got monthly goals, weekly. I have somebody that I actually do this with. And so it helps, because it's almost like having a mentor. This is almost like a secondary mentor. And you don't have to be in the same industry. It could be totally unrelated, right? But just find somebody that, is motivated, wants to participate in something like this with you. And there's like little master groups and stuff like that out there too. But having a once a week call with somebody to go over, like, hey, how's progress going on your goals, and kind of get to that rhythm, very, very valuable. I mean, writing your goals down is a very powerful act. It's a great way to get started. And I'm sure you've all read the research, right? Of, you've got, it's some crazy high X percentage of goals are achieved just merely because you wrote them down, because there's an emotional attachment. There's some power that you put behind that. You obviously got to go do it. But you have a higher likelihood of achieving it when you write it down. So goal setting is huge. And then I think for us, because we are service-minded folks, being in the veterans community, to find something that's service-centered. And you can find that a variety of ways. And so if you're fortunate enough to do work that is a service and you get massive fulfillment from, and you're able to get paid doing it, I mean, that is like the ultimate win. If you are in an industry or in a space where it's more transactional, or you're more of like a part of like a bigger machine, got it. That's okay. I mean, be a light, be an influence in whatever environment that you're in. And if and to scratch that service itch, find something that you can get involved with, whether it's a nonprofit. For me, it's church. My wife and I are very involved in marriage counseling, and a few other activities that we're doing. And so it's important to find something that you can give back, to be service connected, because it helps you not stay so self-centered, as bad as that might sound. Like you're able to go and do something else, and to really make an impact in people's lives. So those would be my three.
Them are some pretty awesome golden grenades. And what I love is the service itch, right? We've never heard that on the show. Ambitious Vet, write that down. Find your service itch and go and itch it, right? Find a way to continue to find what the next level of that is, and you'll always stay satisfied and fulfilled. So, Aaron, how can people go and find you, connect with Bold Media and everything else that you're doing out there, man, inside the trenches?
Yeah, best place to find me would probably be LinkedIn is where I hang out the most, though you can find me on almost any social platform nowadays. My website is boldmedia.us. But yeah, just type my name in LinkedIn, YouTube. We've got a lot of things going on YouTube. But I mean, I literally am everywhere. My handle might be a little bit different, so it's easier to just type in my name. You'll see my mug shot with like a bright background. There's not a whole lot of Aaron Spatzes in the world, but there are a few. But you'll quickly be able to pick me out. So, but yeah, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. So.
Yeah, brother, I appreciate it, man. And Ambitious Vet, if you're listening to this, yes, I went and stalked his YouTube channel, and he does a great job doing vlogs around his triathlon journey and even some learned lessons that he's currently dealing with and going through that I think all of us can learn from. So make sure you check that out. Aaron, man, thank you, man, for who you are. Thanks for reaching out to me on LinkedIn, man, because now we're in the same geographical area. I'm excited to have this whole COVID-19 shit in so we can go out there and impact, man, in-person events out here.
Right.
And brother, man, I love what you're doing. Thanks for always being the example for ambitious guys to follow, and just thanks for joining the show.
That's quite high praise, Chris, but I appreciate you inviting me to the show. It is a sincere pleasure. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
The Ambitious Vet is available on all popular podcast platforms. Go to vettrainingcoaching.com to subscribe, rate, and share with fellow vets.
Again, today's show is brought to you by Combat Flip-Flops. Well, if you're listening to this, you're probably a forward thinker. And if you're listening to this, you're always looking to build a social impact, global impact, business, hopefully before bullets approach. We did the bullets in the past. Now we're figuring out how do we make the real impact. If you're trying to do that or support a mission, connect with Combat Flip-Flops by clicking the link in the show notes below or visit combatflipflops.com. If you find anything you like and all of their gear on that website, make sure to enter AMV Network for a 25% discount.